Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Watching Movies with April and Kenny. I am Kenny.
I'm April.
And this week, you chose the movie that we're going to be discussing, so why don't you tell everybody what it is?
Okay, I chose Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Easily the best Harry Potter movie.
Now, I think it should be important to note for the listener, that is sarcasm that April's using right there.
Yes, it is. I was just going to say that most of the Harry Potter movies I do not think are good, and this one is especially bad.
Okay, well, we can get into that. I do think it's funny that we followed up Pride and Prejudice, one of our favorite movies of all time, with Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, which is a gigantic meme movie in our household. It's funny, they kind of have Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire has some stuff in common with Pride and Prejudice. They both came out in 2005.
Oh.
They are both based off of best-selling novels.
Mm-hmm.
And that is it.
Yes. I would say that's where it ends as well.
They also both feature, like, some of the most beautiful romance stories ever told.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Some of the best acting.
Certainly. Well, there's some good acting, I suppose.
Well,
let's get into it.
Okay.
Do you want to do the intro here?
Okay, so we watched Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Like you said, it came out in 2005. Director was Mike Newell. And you made this note. This is the only Harry Potter movie that he did. All the others were by several other people. And that he doesn't have a ton of, like, well-known films that he's directed.
Yeah, he did 4 Weddings and a Funeral and Mona Lisa's Smile, both of which I have heard but have never watched, and that's really it.
One that I saw that I actually have seen is the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society.
The what?
The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, and I believe that was a book as well. But I have seen that, and it's an enjoyable movie.
It's a good movie?
I liked it, so.
I gotta say, it must be good if it has to work past that title.
Yeah,
That's not a great
it's a mouthful.
Initial impression. That didn't catch on in the viral marketing, unfortunately.
It's still good. This movie is very long to watch and sit through. It's 2 hours and 37 minutes. I did make a note.
And it feels like 10 days.
Yeah. It took me several days to finish, if I'm being honest.
I started watching it in the evening, went to bed, started again the next day, and I had to leave the room a handful of times.
We tried to do our Zoom watch along last week, and I was in the mood, so like right after I started it, and I literally got probably 20 minutes in, and I was like, I gotta take a nap. I cannot do this right now. And then I did not revisit it until today, actually.
You had to work up your tolerance again.
Yep, I had to get all the way back up there. It does have an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, so the critics enjoyed this.
This is a good starting point, I think, because we have not liked this movie. We watched it when we were children. We read the Harry Potter books, which we were big fans of. We were fans, I would say, of the first 2 movies pretty soundly.
Yes.
The third movie was okay. And then we got to this movie, which we'll get into.
Yes.
But yeah, my impression is that we are in the minority by quite a large margin, and most people think this movie is good, one of the better ones.
I can't believe that, especially if these people have read the book.
Well, that's interesting too. So yeah, this is from Wikipedia. The film is one of the best reviewed installments within the series, being praised for the higher level of maturity and sophistication of its characters, plotline, tone, screenplay, and the performances of the lead actors.
What?
April's blinking.
My eyes are bugging out of my head right now. What? That's wild.
Yeah, and for reasons we will get into. But speaking of the stellar cast that we have at our disposal, we have, of course, the Golden Trio, Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson as, respectively, Harry, Ron, and Hermione. You know this already if you are listening to this, because I can't imagine you listening to it otherwise. Other noteworthy people, these are the ones that stood out to me as being particular for this movie. Feel free to add extras. We get Ray Fiennes as Voldemort, which I've got things to talk about with that. We've got Brendan Gleeson as Mad-Eye Moody. And these are first time both of these guys are in here. We have David Tennant as Barty Crouch Jr., a.k.a. Doctor Who. We have Batman as Cedric Diggory.
Sure.
And we have Michael Gambon as Dumbledore. Now, this is this is
the worst fucking portrayal of Dumbledore ever.
This is his second. He debuted in Prisoner of Azkaban after Richard Harris died. We will get into it. So that's setting the stage. Here are the players. Did you have any other actors that you wanted to take note of?
No, I really didn't.
Okay, in that case, we can jump into our taglines. So for each movie, April and I come up with our own poster taglines, and I'm curious what you wrote down.
Oh, I have a lot of notes. Oh, my tagline was, "You thought Harry was useless before? Well, wait till you see him in this garbage."
That's very good, and that hits on a very important point in this movie. My tagline, I took a more broad approach. I said, the movie that Avada Kedavra'd my interest in this series.
That's solid and true. I will say, we enjoyed the first two movies so much, and we were kids relatively when they came out, that we used to act out those movies. Like,
yes,
you, me, and our two siblings. Costumes. Yeah, we had costume changes. We memorized all the lines. We rarely made it to the end of a movie, but we did start strong with acting out the first two movies.
Always starting strong.
Yeah.
And then you could see the production value really plummeted the longer it went.
Yep. Yeah. You want to hear the actual taglines for this?
Oh, yeah. I always forget.
Actual taglines. There were 4 of them. Okay, the first one was, "Everything is about to change." The second
Pretty
one,
vague.
The second one was, "Difficult times lie ahead, Harry." The third one was, "Dark and difficult times lie ahead." And then the last one, "On November 18th, everything will change."
So vague.
That's like his last line in the movie is like, "Everything's gonna change," or something like that, which I was like, oh, okay. What?
Or Hermione's like, "Everything's going to change, isn't it?"
Okay.
And Harry's like, "Yeah, you dumb bitch."
See, I watched this literally an hour ago, and I couldn't tell you who said that last line.
Well, you were so ready to be done at that point, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, my interest really, really tapered by the end of it.
I'm sure.
The last 20 minutes, I was like, oh my god.
Okay, so in this movie, broad picture, Harry takes part in a tournament of champions with some of the other students at Hogwarts and from other schools that we learn exist in this movie. But it starts off, Harry Potter is having dreams. He's always having dreams of some dude getting killed by Voldemort. Mm-hmm. We see Peter Pettigrew is there, and some other guy who we learn later is Barty Crouch, and some muggle that we don't care about and we never will. Mm-hmm. Now, I imagine we're going to talk a lot about the differences between the movie and the book, and I kind of want to set out front that I'm not mad because something is different than the book. Like, I'm not upset if you change something. I'm upset if you change something and it makes it worse.
Yeah, if you change something and it sucks.
Yeah. So at the beginning here, I remember the book starts out from the perspective of the muggle, the non-magic person, mm-hmm. who's like the groundskeeper of this estate, and he thinks somebody's invading the house, and he goes in there to chase off some kids, what he thinks are. And you're in his head as he becomes increasingly distressed at what he's hearing, and then he gets killed. Mm-hmm. So It makes you dislike Voldemort even more. It makes you feel for this guy. And it's good at setting up that dark tone. And I don't think this dream really does the same thing very well.
Yeah.
But that's real quick intro.
Yeah. I will say, this movie, like, gets into this beginning shit real fast. It's just like...
It does. It does. How do you feel about... Because they just totally skip what they've done in the previous 3 movies, which is start at the Dursleys. Harry's with his mean aunt and uncle for the summer, and he has to get back with his friends. They leave that out entirely, and we're just like, boom, he's already with his friends. I
think that's fine, because in the book, it's nothing happens right there. It's just like, the Weasleys come and get him and leave. Yeah. So I feel like that's fine.
It's a good cut. I was going to say, too, with things moving, you can tell very quickly that the book that this movie is based on is about as long as all 3 of the previous books put together. There is a lot to get through in this movie.
I did see that there was talk of splitting this into 2 movies, and the director was kind of like, no, I can cut away enough that we can make it into 1. So
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be 2.
No.
I think he could have cut more things out of it, potentially. They're going... We join our heroes. They're heading to the Quidditch World Cup. Another good omission, in my opinion. We go to the World Cup. We get all excited about it. They get into the stadium. The game begins. They cut straight to the after-game celebration, like talking about how cool the game was. And I think that's a good cut. I don't think we need to watch a sport that we don't care about these people.
For the movie, yeah. I get that. In the book, I really like that part where, she's describing the World Cup and the Villa and the 2 teams and all of that. I really like that part. But yeah, in this, it's like 30 seconds and then you're on to the next thing.
Which I think these are some good choices. These are some good cuts.
Starting off strong.
Yes. Now, I do have a couple extra things to talk about here. Things I was thinking of. So the first thing that happens when they get to the World Cup, like, campgrounds, the Weasleys and Harry and Hermione go to their tent. And it's this piddly little tent, this little canvas tent. And Harry's like, how are we going to fit in there?
Harry doesn't understand magic at this point still.
And so you walk in, and of course, like the TARDIS, it's bigger on the inside. It's this kind of like cool, bohemian, like mansion, like multi-level, awesome thing. And I watched that and I was like, why don't the Weasleys just live in this tent? Why do they live in their shack?
That's a good point.
This tent is so much nicer.
That's true.
And then that threw my head tumbling off a cliff of like, what does it mean to be poor in a world with magic? Like, why are the Weasleys poor? You can just make things out of thin air. Like, all the times when Ron gets sent, like, tattered, patched clothes, it's like, Reparo.
Well, yeah, that's stupid. Like, that's easily fixed. I'm sure there's...
Hermione uses Reparo in the first fucking page of the book.
I'm sure that J.K. Rowling has made up some dumb rules about, like, magicking food or something, creating these different things. You can't do it for this, that, or the other reason. I'm sure that would be her answer.
That does exist in the book. They specifically, I think it's in Hermione's Club of Spew, and we learn that the house elves actually make the food and it just gets teleported upstairs. It's not actually magically conjured food because you can't do that. Fine. You have to go get your own food. But I think I could use magic and find pretty good solutions for that, too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Just saying. So, yeah, I was like, I don't understand poverty in this world. But you know what? It's whimsical. I'm willing to overlook it.
I just want to say that Harry has a really funny line in this part where, he's going into the tent. He just literally says, I love magic.
I love magic.
He's so uncool. It hurts. It's cringy. I love magic.
This is what I'm saying and why I had to leave my office as I was watching this several times, because there's just so much stuff like that. Who says that?
Yeah.
Bad line. I won't blame Daniel Radcliffe for that. How it was, there's no good way to do it.
I guess that's true.
That's a screenplay problem. Okay, we do meet at this time Cedric Diggory. There's just, for me, I know this is more of a subjective thing. There's a lot of stuff I think is awkward, like you were just saying, I love magic. They use the port key and fly to the venue.
And they're running in midair.
All the kids land on the ground very awkwardly, and then the three people who know what they're doing are like treading water in the air.
They look so stupid.
No. And I don't know, is it supposed to be cool?
I think it is. Like, haha, you guys don't know how to land from a port key. Look at us. Yeah, that was one of my first notes. And also that Cedric drops out of a tree for some reason.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Okay.
That's Cedric, just always hanging out in trees. Yeah, a big note with Cedric, and a lot of people who do have criticism for this movie point out that Cedric is like barely a character.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he's that much more of a character in the book.
No, he's not. I think the criticism goes for both. Like, we should be trying to get invested in this guy because of what's going to come at the end of the movie, but we don't really care.
Yeah.
In fact, it kind of clears the way for Harry with Cho, so... You know,
it's perfect.
It's kind of a twofer. Okay, so then the match is over. Uh-oh, look who it is!
The KKK!
It's the KKK Death Eaters. What do you think? What do you think of the decision to have them have KKK pointy hats?
Why? Why do it?
I don't know.
It doesn't make them look cool. Like...
Definitely not.
You can tell that they're bad people without putting pointed hoods on them. Like, I don't think that was necessary.
I completely agree. Harry Potter as a series is not subtle.
No.
But we don't need to additionally spell things out for people.
Yeah.
I would get that they are the magic KKK without you giving them the uniforms.
Yeah.
Okay, so they blow up the place. Oh my god, it's a terrorist event. Everybody run. Harry all of a sudden is by himself, and he sees the man from his dreams, David Slippy Tongue Tennant.
I hate. Every time I saw him fucking flick his tongue out of his mouth, I'm like, don't put it back in your fucking mouth. It's so stupid. And one of the trivia facts that I saw on this page was that he improvised that. You know, that's not part of the character in the book. That's just something he improvised. And I was like, maybe unimprovise it, because that's dumb.
I'm surprised that it was improvised, because in my head, I always thought that was a really heavy-handed clue that Mad-Eye Moody is actually Barty Crouch Jr., because we see at one point Mad-Eye Moody does it too. Which kind of ruins the surprise at the end, because it's just so obvious.
Yeah, well, that was another note within the thing. It was like the guy who played Alistair Moody, you know, slipped that in a couple of times too, so, you know, you could see the connection. I'm like, no, don't do that.
That just makes it like 100% obvious.
Yeah. Oh, I hated it. Ugh.
Yeah, it's an odd choice. I don't know what it's supposed to be telling me. You know, it's kind of interesting, because here's a real big tangent for you. In The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker, he also does like tongue flicking stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's not done as silly, I think. But he is able to portray in a lot of other ways how he's unhinged. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just one component to it. Whereas Barty Crouch is just screaming and tongue clicking, and that's his entire character.
Yeah.
And I find it hard to believe, because every time we see him when he's David Tennant, he comes across as a silly psychopath. Mm-hmm. But he's so good at acting like Moody and keeping things under wrap. I guess we just have to accept that.
I guess.
Okay. So Barty Crouch Jr. sends up the Dark Mark, the sign of the evil wizards, for the first time in ages. All of the Ministry of Magic show up and almost kill Harry.
Yeah. Everybody tries to stupefy at once.
Yeah. Which I think that does happen in the book too, kind of.
I think so.
Now here's a question I have. At this point, Harry's like looking up at the sky. You got the skull and the snake, and they have to explain to Harry about the Death Eaters and the Dark Mark. Now, Harry's been in the wizarding world for 3 years now, and he has personally fought Voldemort twice. So how have these things not come up so far?
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they had come up and Harry just doesn't fucking give a shit.
That's actually a good point. Because I was going to say, if I were Harry, I would be like, do you guys have a book about all of the Voldemort
Harry's
stuff
never read
that
a book.
And
he
that's
will never
exactly
read a book.
You know what? I take it back. Not a plot hole, actually. Totally consistent.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, we are back at Hogwarts, and I want you to describe what is probably the best scene in the entire movie.
Oh my god. Yeah. Okay, so we're already there at the school. It's been like 15, 20 minutes. You get Dumbledore. He already kind of sucks, and then he's introducing the two schools. They don't explain anything. I feel like things are more in the book, like they're told about this thing and then the schools show up and then more happens. Yeah. But in this, it's just like they arrive and then the other schools arrive. So You've got Durmstrang and Beauxbatons with their dumb, stupid entrances. You get Beauxbatons coming in going, ah, and then butterflies are fucking flying around. It's so their outfits are amazing.
I took note of that too. I love the Beauxbatons outfits.
Entrance, so stupid. And then Durmstrang comes in, and they're all grunting, and they're going, oh! And they're putting their staffs out, oh! And there's like fire or something coming out, and you've got people doing like acrobatics or something. It's so fucking stupid. And I don't know if it's supposed to make them look cool, but it's so cringy.
It's awful. And also, like, yeah, I think absolutely the intent is that it's supposed to look cool. Because all the Hogwarts students are going like, whoa, holy cow. And I'm just like, okay, so I have, yes, super, super cringe. This is the part of the movie that already it's like, you're losing me, movie. But also, why are wizards so easy to impress? All the Beauxbatons girls did is sigh and maybe a little charm with butterflies. And the Durmstrang guys just twirled staves and made fire appear. And even Dumbledore, when the fire's popping up, he's like, whoa, fire.
Like, you can literally do magic. You could do anything, basically.
You see stuff like this and crazier all the time in, like, your first class of the day. And then, on top of that, so we're introduced to the two schools and all that awkwardness. And then, quote-unquote, Mad-Eye Moody shows up through the back door. And I don't understand what happens, because he comes in.
With the sky?
Yeah, and then, like, there's lightning, and all the kids are freaking out. And he, like, pulls out his wand and zaps the ceiling or the sky and makes the lightning stop.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either. That, like, why are suddenly all the kids screaming about the ceiling, which is literally not the outside sky. It's a ceiling. You know this. Yeah. You've been here for years. You understand. And then what is he doing?
I don't know. They don't explain it. And again, all this stuff is like, I think I can see the intention. Obviously, the intention of introducing the schools is, here are these schools. Aren't they cool? Mm-hmm. And then with Moody, it's supposed to be, whoa. This weirdo actually is like, he's got some moves and he's pretty powerful, but they do it
so poorly.
Yeah, it's really fumbled, and that's how we're introduced to Mad-Eye Moody.
Yep.
So out of all that, Beauxbatons uniforms, A+, everything else, D or F.
Yes. Yeah, and then like the next scene is Moody's class. He's doing Defense Against the Dark Arts. And he's literally, he performs the killing curse in class. Like, he actually performs that. Like, how do you not know that this guy is, like, fucked up?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I can agree with you, and that's not very responsible. It's like, okay, I'm going to teach you this. I'm going to shoot a gun in class, and I'm going to kill this animal to show you what a gun does.
Yeah.
You'd probably be fired, I would think.
Yeah.
But I remember reading, it's presented pretty faithfully to how the book did it.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. And I remember reading the book, I didn't see the twist coming that he was Barty Crouch when I read the book. And I just thought Moody was like a cool teacher. Not cool as in like a good teacher. Right. I mean, he was a cool character. Like, he was a well-written character.
Kind of a badass, you thought.
Yeah. A hard ass, but who also was kind of tender sometimes. It would actually like help the students out. had their best interests at heart. I like his character. Now, of course, it gets ruined because that's not Mad-Eye Moody.
Yeah.
But, okay. Now, another one of a famous scene for us. Well, first we get a little montage of people dropping their names in the Goblet of Fire.
Yeah.
And, of course, we don't have any time, so the exact three people who are going to be chosen are the people we see put it in. Yeah. And a couple extras.
Yeah.
I give it a hand wave because we don't have time for all of this.
It's kind of funny, though.
It is really funny. And then, Harry is the secret fourth champion. Now you're rubbing your head. What follows is very uncomfortable.
Yeah. So, first of all, everybody is like pissed off that Harry comes out, and he's like ushered into the back, and Dumbledore literally sprints at him and grabs him by his shirt and is like shaking him, and it's like, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? He's like yelling, which is not Dumbledore. And my whole thing here is like, Harry is quite literally too stupid to figure out how to put his name in the cup. I don't know why anyone would think he could do that. He can't. He doesn't even know how to use his wand most of the time. He forgets he is a wizard like 60% of the time. I don't understand why anybody would be like, yeah, he figured out how to do it.
Yeah, all the people suspecting. And also, from the perspective of Dumbledore and Ron, it's like, Harry has been like fighting Voldemort and like being a good guy the entire time you've known him.
Yeah.
Why are you suspicious of him? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Ron is fucking awful in most of this movie.
He is.
Like, that's part of it. I understand, he's always kind of second fiddle. Harry's the cool guy. He gets to do the cool stuff. He's like always the hero. So I understand him being a little bit like, well, damn. Like, he gets to do another cool thing, whatever. But, like, you're his best friend. You should know more than everybody. Like, Harry could never figure this out.
No. He could never figure this out. And also, that Harry doesn't like the limelight.
Right.
He hates being famous.
Right.
But, yeah, I think the biggest thing in this scene is, and maybe we should spend a little bit of time to talk about this, is Michael Gammon's portrayal of Dumbledore.
Yeah.
So he is portrayed, one, totally different from the previous actor, and totally different from the book as well. Again, these things are okay by me. Different doesn't mean bad necessarily, but it doesn't make sense for what they want from this character. Mm-hmm. He's definitely supposed to be wise and powerful, right? And he comes across as very easy to fool, and very quick to rush to judgments that are completely unwarranted. Mm-hmm. And just mean. Yeah. He's just a mean person.
Yeah. Like, my whole memory of, like, how Dumbledore is in the books is, like, he's always speaking quietly. Very calm. Like, he gets a lot of respect because he, like, commands it with composure. Like, that's just his whole thing. He's always composed. He's always, like, kind of joking, like, very relaxed in most situations. And this was just the total opposite.
And also, he's very, like, lost in his own head a lot of the time. He has kind of an absent-minded professor. But you get the sense that that's kind of just a veneer that he puts on, and that when the time calls for it, he's, whip smart and there. Mm-hmm. But the thing that this Dumbledore misses out the most on is Dumbledore should feel kind of, until we get to the later books, kind of above it all. Like, how are you going to rile up Dumbledore? Come on.
Yeah.
And this guy is going to punch Harry in the face. And you're right, it is weird that all of the students immediately hate him the moment his name is called, because we see scenes of other students trying to trick the goblet and put their names in when they're not allowed to.
Yeah.
So I would think that Fred and George would be like patting him on the back and be like, hell yeah, Harry.
My other thing with this part is, like, his name gets pulled out and everybody's like, well, he has to do it. He just has to. I'm like, what's going to happen? Are you going to kill him? Like, he could just not, probably. Right?
I wrote, why does Harry have to compete? If he doesn't compete, will he die from magic?
Seriously. And Professor McGonagall is kind of like, yeah, those are the rules, but like, who gives a shit? And Dumbledore's like, nope, he's got to do it. Why?
Barty Crouch, it is tradition, and he must compete.
Like, everybody seems kind of mad. You could probably just kick him out.
Yeah.
I think.
Or,
everybody would be happy.
And you know what else? If I were Harry, too, I could be like, you can put me in the little uniform to go do the tasks, and I'm just not going to do them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's perfect. Yeah.
I'm just going to sit it out. Oh,
yeah.
You think I'm doing this for the fame? No. I don't
care.
Yeah.
He could just lose every task, too.
Yeah.
Like, no.
He could have called his broom and just flown away. Anyway.
We'll get there.
So speaking of people being dickheads in the movie, you mentioned Ron.
Yeah.
Ron is the worst.
Uh-huh.
Dumbledore is very clearly an asshole, but he does not hold a candle to Ron in this movie. And I wrote the same thing you did. I kind of get it at first. It makes sense in the story.
Yeah.
And I can see him being like, just that jealousy got to him. So I can see him at first being like, you didn't tell me about it, and not wanting to believe.
Right.
But it just gets so out of hand, and it never lets up. Even later in the movie, when he and Harry are cool, he never stops being an asshole.
Yeah. Even
Ever
like
again.
Their very first conversation after the goblet thing happens, Harry's like, do you think I did this? I don't want to be a part of this. You know me. I don't want to be a part of this. And Ron's just like, oh, piss off. Like, all right.
Yeah. And then Harry's response to that is totally justified. Because Ron is just so toxic. You don't need that in your life, Harry.
Yeah.
The only thing that's weird is he keeps running up to Ron and like confronting him. It's like, leave this. Take his advice. Piss off. Forget this guy. Ron is never cool again after this.
Yeah.
It's true. He doesn't do anything good or cool. Ever again.
You know what? Another thing I want to say is, like, I find Hermione... I know Hermione is supposed to be a little bit insufferable, but I hate her in this movie, too. Just the delivery of all of her lines, I think, sucks.
Yes, I agree. Her actions are not asshole-ish, but she talks so mean all the time to everybody.
All the time. Every line that she says sounds like it's the same, because she's saying it in the same tone of voice and kind of scolding every time. Like,
honestly, Ronald, get dressed. You're just waking him up to go see the game.
Right.
Why are you mad?
Yeah, literally my first note, because that's at the very beginning, is that Hermione has a stick up her ass, because she's so mean immediately.
I think they really struggled with how do you show her as being a little off-putting, but still a good person. And I think they did what they could. And maybe it's Emma Watson. I don't know how good of an actor she is.
Could be. I think they really fumbled Hermione in general. Just everything about her.
Yes, I agree. And that comes to a head later on when we get to the ball scene.
Yes.
So we'll get there.
Yeah,
are there any other scenes in the meantime? I have a few that I wanted to talk about.
Yes. I wanted to say that I think Rita is the only good performance in this movie. Rita Skeeter.
She's like, she reminds me of some of the actors they chose for the first two movies, where it's like you somehow plucked them out of the book.
Yeah.
I will say this, and I don't know if you agree with this. This is a bigger point about the entire movie. I was picking up a lot of uncomfortable, horny energy off of this movie. Throughout almost the entire thing. Kind
of. My note for Rita is that it's the only good performance, but also, is she gonna kiss Harry?
Yes.
What I wrote down.
Yes. I wrote that if you just showed me the beginning of them going into the closet, I'd be like, I think I'm about to watch a MILF porn parody of some kind. Because like they go in there and her boobs are like in Harry's face.
She's like this far away from him. Like,
yeah. It's like, this is weird.
Yeah.
So that's one clear place. I'll bring up more horny energy moments as the movie goes on.
Okay. Something else. Oh, when Harry gets a letter from Sirius, and the letter's like, I couldn't risk sending an owl, so I'm gonna put my whole fucking head in a fireplace later. if that's cool. Like, what?
How is that a better solution?
Yeah, that's... More people could see you this way.
That is weird. I remember in the book, the whole thing was, yeah, I can't send it because it's too dangerous. But what he does in the book is he, like, does a flu powder and shoves half his head out of the fireplace. And it's like, yeah, this is just way more dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So,
I thought that was kind of funny.
Weird choice.
I think, well, who is he talking to? This is before any of the tasks and before he knows what the task... this is after he knows what the task is, but someone's asking him, like, what are his strengths?
Moody's asking him, what are your strengths?
And he literally has none. Like I said, he forgets that he's a wizard like 60% of the time. Hermione literally has to remind him that he has a wand. She literally, in that first task, shouts from the stands, "Your wand!" Like...
Yeah. Well, and it's like multiple times he gets reminded. Because in that conversation with Moody's trying to help him out. And he's like, "What are you good at, Potter?" And Harry's like, nothing really. I guess I'm good at flying. And
can't have my broom, though.
And then Moody has to say, "You're allowed to bring your wand. Maybe you can
Harry's
use that."
like, "What's a wand?"
Is that like a tiny broom? And this scene, the first task, this is where Harry use your wand becomes a meme. It's no longer like cute and funny. It's like, it's hilarious how he won't use magic. And so he goes out there, he starts fighting the dragon, and yeah, it takes him like 5 minutes to finally use the spell to get his broom.
Yep.
He takes off, he's like flying around, he almost gets the egg, but not quite, and then he makes the bizarre choice to fly through the stands so that the dragon also like flies through it and almost kills everybody. 30 people. You can fly up and over, Harry. He flies to the castle. This fight goes on way too long.
Wait, he flies to the castle and then loses his broom on a roof and struggles for like 5 minutes. I'm like, you have a wand! Use the one of 3 spells that you know that you just used and get the broom back!
I know, he's like struggling to get down it, and then he slips and he's holding on, it's above him.
Like, what are you doing?
You fool. You damned fool. Oh my god.
Yeah, and then he literally kills the dragon.
I guess so.
It literally falls to its death.
They show it fall away, and Harry too, and the dragon doesn't come back. So yeah, I guess he murdered it. It's kind of fucked up. And then he succeeds, and he gets the golden egg. And, you know, Harry, even in this movie, they're trying to convince us that Harry doesn't want the limelight, and he's really humble. And then another super cringe moment in the Gryffindor, I was going to call it a locker room, the Gryffindor Commons. They're like, "Oh, open the egg." And he's like, "You want me to open up the egg? Who wants me to open up the egg?"
He's on somebody's shoulders. He's like, "Oh, yell louder if you want me to open up the egg, everybody."
Let me see some titties if you want to see me open this egg. It's bizarre, these choices. That's another cringe moment for me.
Yeah.
Importantly, too, before we leave the first task behind, it's weird that they don't show what the other champions did with their dragons. We spend so much time with Harry's that could have been a lot shorter, and we don't spend any time with theirs, or even get told what they did later, which that's what is done in the book, which I kind of like. In the book,
yeah, because he's like sitting and listening,
right? And you're hearing like crowd reactions and like gasps and cheers, and you're imagining with him what's going on. And then later, people tell Harry, "Here's what they did," which is kind of cool. Yeah, but in a movie, I would have liked to see those tasks performed.
Sure,
but you can't get what you want, not in this movie.
Nope.
Now we move on to another vitally important piece of the plot, which is the Yule Ball sequence.
Hey, Kenny.
Hey, Amber.
I have a question for you.
All right, shoot.
If you could pick any one Magic the Gathering card to eat, which card would that be?
Acorn Catapult, because I want those squirrel nuts.
Good answer. I'm surprised at how fast you did that. I don't know, is that a real card?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I didn't know. Cool, I learned something.
There's all kinds of stuff that you can learn on Red Mage, Blue Mage, a Magic the Gathering talk show on the Geekspective Network.
If you're like me, an idiot who doesn't understand things, you can also learn from Kenny, who's great. We talk about Magic lore, how to actually play the game, what does a mana curve look like, and other cool stuff.
All that and more. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and pretty much any major platform. And we're on Twitter at RedBlueMTG.
Check us out!
I don't know how long this takes up in the movie, but I'm going to say an hour and a half.
I could not care less about any of this.
Absolutely not.
Any of the dancing part.
It's pointless and awkward and terrible. Which kind of sucks because I like the idea of getting some high school drama in my, my book or my movie about wizard teens in high school.
Sure.
And it's just so uncomfortable and bad. I need some John Hughes energy in this part of the movie.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Hermione's reveal. Her great reveal.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on Hermione's grand reveal of, oh my god, she's a hot person?
I don't like it even in concept. If you executed it like she's all that, and she's, the ugly, putting that in quotes, mousy girl, who then gets dolled up and becomes the beautiful hot girl, I think that's a problematic trope.
Yeah.
I don't think that's good. That being said, they can't even do that because they don't ever attempt to make Emma Watson not look beautiful. She always looks good. Right.
Yeah. This is what I have. Hermione comes down the staircase looking exactly like she has this entire movie.
With a dress on.
Because in the book, she's got huge bushy hair, big buck teeth, and they talk about how she used this, slickening potion to tame her hair, and she, was able to make her teeth smaller somehow. I don't know, she did this whole shebang, and she put on her periwinkle dress, and it was like, oh my god, Hermione's beautiful. And then in this one, it's like, oh, it's Hermione.
Oh, it's Hermione. And this is another moment where you can see how the intention of the filmmakers doesn't match what's happening. Because one of the Patel twins is the one who turns and says, she's beautiful. So we're supposed to look at her and think, oh my god, Emma Watson is usually so ugly, but now she's so attractive.
Right.
And it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's not believable, and even if it were, I don't like the idea.
Yeah. I agree.
Now, I want to talk for a minute about, so this is, maybe I'll have a little musical sting. Horny energy, once again.
Okay.
So, we have to endure a lot of painful moments of the boys trying to get dates.
Uh-huh.
And as this is going on for what feels like years, there are a couple moments where the Patel twins, these two Indian girls who are Gryffindors, walking together, walk by, and they go, hiya, Harry. And it's like, the idea is they're interested in Harry, right? Very clearly.
Yeah, it's obvious.
Now, I have multiple things to say here. Number one, Harry, why don't you just date one of these girls? They seem really nice, and they are very pretty.
Yeah, and you know as much about them as you do about Cho Chang, so
that's
you
completely
might as
true.
well.
Probably more, because you are a fellow Gryffindor.
Right.
Number two, Harry, I think you really missed your chance to be an absolute legend at this Yule Ball. You could have potentially swung it and brought both girls as your date.
That's true.
Because they're both like, hiya, Harry.
Mm-hmm.
What a legend he would be. Can you imagine? I feel so bad. I don't know how they decided which Patel twin got to date Harry and which one got to go out with Ron.
I mean, they both suck. Yeah, they did not luck out either way.
Absolutely not. And I'm glad the one at least gets to go and have a good time with
some other person.
Some Durmstrang guy.
Yeah.
Now, meanwhile, this is another horny energy moment. I wonder how Harry sleeps at night, how he is at peace with the fact that Neville almost certainly got to at least second base with his wife.
That's what I was going to say. You know who killed at the Yule Ball? Neville Longbottom.
Neville Longbottom.
And he came back to the dorms like super late and was like, I just got in, boys.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
That's the only part I liked out of all of that, I think.
Yeah, I love Neville. I think Neville's one of the best characters like in this entire series. I think Ginny is too, honestly.
Yeah. I think he's very consistently characterized. And even though he's used as a joke a lot of the time, he is humanized a lot, and he's one of the very few people who isn't an asshole in these movies.
Yeah.
Which I think is why I like him.
Yeah. Just a good dude.
Well, that was a lot of talk about the dance, which doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
So next, second task. We learn it has to do with mermaids and the lake at Hogwarts. Time for another horny energy moment. Because
are we talking about the bathtub scene?
We are talking about the bathtub scene.
Oh, God.
So describe that.
Okay, so Cedric tells Harry, because he knows that Harry has made no effort at understanding what this next task is.
Not even a little.
He is Harry Potter. So he's like, take it to the prefect's bathroom. So he goes and he gets undressed, and you see him, and he's supposed to be 14 in this movie, so you see him like get into a bathtub, and he's kind of shredded, and like it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I wrote down his character's supposed to be 14. Daniel was 16, so that's not good either.
No,
and they don't like show him like slip into the bath, and you just see his head. They like
his whole torso.
Yeah, and like they kind of show some of his hip too. It's like really gratuitous and voyeuristic and weird.
And then you have Moaning Myrtle,
the ghost,
who's literally like 100-year-old ghost or something like that, and she's over just watching, being a pedophile, literally. Yeah. And then she comes up close to him, like very close, and it's kind of like, let me see your dick. And he's like obviously very uncomfortable, like trying to cover up.
As are we. And any second, Myrtle could just, like, go underwater. It's like, she's like, I can see your dick anytime I want, Harry.
Yeah.
Awful.
Very strange. Very strange.
It's supposed to be funny. It's really uncomfortable.
Very weird.
This is actually another one of my overall notes. I think the movie gets backwards when it's trying to make something creepy or intense. It doesn't do a very good job, and when it's not trying to, it makes things creepy.
It's supposed to be lighthearted, it's creepy.
Yeah, I take it, this whole thing is supposed to be like, we're supposed to be in the theater and be like, oh my god, this is so funny. It's not. It's weird.
It's very weird. So he puts his egg underwater, and he hears a little song, and he realizes it's about mermaids or something. He's going to have to go underwater. We do at least get a scene of him in the library attempting to figure something out, doing a very piss-poor job.
Like the night before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Has no clue what he's going to do. And then in the movie, Neville gives him this plant that'll give him gills, basically. I think in the book it was Dobby who does it.
Right.
But so, again, he's relying on other people to
and the annoying
figure out how to handle these.
And the annoying thing, too, is after that, you have the lead up to the task. They're walking to the docks of the lake. And Harry's like, are you sure this will work? And Neville's like, I think so, although scholars kind of disagree about its effects in freshwater versus saltwater. And Harry has the audacity to get mad at Neville. Be like, you're just now telling me about this, Neville? And it's like, you had no plan at all.
You were just going to jump in and try to swim.
To the bottom of the lake, I guess. Okay, so then he jumps in the water. He has the gillyweed, and it's like he's struggling. Oh, is he gonna get? And then he grows gills, and then he does more showboating. He swims to the top of the lake,
he jumps out, and does like a flip. Like, what are you? You're wasting time.
Oh my god! I don't really have any notes about the rest of this task.
My note is that he goes and he just has to save multiple people because he's just a hero. And I'm like, okay, heroic, but did you really think that they were just gonna kill some random students and children for the sake of this task? Like, is that what you thought?
It's like he doesn't understand that magic is a thing. He thinks all these people they're probably holding their breath right now. Yeah, he's a big fool. And the thing is, like, I can kind of accept, like, it's a scary situation, but then, skipping ahead a bit to the last task, he does the same thing to Cedric, where Cedric's getting pulled away by the plants in the maze, and he, instead of just going to win...
He's gonna die!
Ridiculous. But anyway.
No!
Okay, next scene. I'm gonna rapidly skip over this one. Crouch Sr. dies, and no one gives a shit.
Why were they just going for a stroll in the Forbidden Forest?
Don't know. Doesn't explain.
Just so they could find the body, I guess.
And they do. And then we jump back into Hogwarts where they're talking about it. This is never addressed again. Barty Crouch Sr. died.
It means nothing.
And honestly, any scene with any of the Crouches doesn't matter. And I kind of remember honestly feeling that way when I read the book, too. I was like, who are these Crouches? And why do I care?
Why do you keep telling me about them? I don't give a shit.
And then, out of nowhere, final task. No build-up. It's a maze.
It is very sudden. Extremely sudden. The music for this always makes me laugh for some reason, and I don't know why. There's like a marching band like playing some jaunty music, and I don't know why it's so funny to me.
That might just be you, because that doesn't make me laugh very much.
Oh, it cracks me up. And then before they go into the maze, Dumbledore's like, gather round. You might actually go crazy in there. You might actually lose your minds. But go have fun. Like, that's his, like, pep talk in the beginning.
Yeah. Which, are we supposed to be thinking that's serious? Or are we supposed to be like, oh, that Dumbledore, that card?
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? So, they go into this big, gigantic hedge maze that fills up the Quidditch pitch. I loved, from the book, I loved the maze trial. I thought it was so cool. It was very D&D. It's like all kinds of weird monsters and puzzles.
Creatures and...
They had blast-ended Scroots, which we had seen previously. There were giant spiders. There was one of my favorite. There's a boggart masquerading as a Dementor, and Harry has to remember some magic, which is like, whoa, that's impressive.
He only knows like 3 spells, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, the maze in the movie really sucks. It's literally just bushes coming in together. That's like all they show, basically.
Yes. And you know what? I could get out of some bushes as just a normal ass person. So, not that intense. As we said, Cedric gets grabbed by some plants. He's going to be dragged away. And Harry is like looking at the cup like, I could have the glory. But I don't want my friend Cedric Diggory to die. And so he goes back and saves him.
Oops.
Which it's like, oh, Harry, if you weren't so stupid.
Yeah.
So they go, and now we're at the grand finale. Surprise! It's Voldemort. He has summoned Harry.
I gotta say, from this point on, I really didn't care. Unfortunately. I just really didn't. I did giggle when we first see tiny shrunken head Voldemort. He looks so dumb. He looks so stupid.
He does. I think I like baby Voldemort better than fully formed Voldemort. Now, this is probably a controversial opinion, again, from what I've read. It seems like most people really like the way Voldemort looks and the way he acts. I think both look and action, he is incredibly silly.
You know, I don't know that I pay very much attention to his acting, to be honest. You know, he doesn't play a huge part in most of these movies.
No, he doesn't. He shows up for a little bit at like the end of a handful of movies.
Right.
Now, what I think is funny is that, this is a quote I got from the director, Mike Newell. He said he picked Ralph Fiennes because he could depict, quote, a realistic and frightening villain instead of a simple caricature. And I think that is... maybe that was why you picked him, but that's not what you got, in my opinion.
He didn't do that.
You got a simple caricature. And Ralph Fiennes has been quoted as... people ask him, what do you think of the role of Voldemort? And he said, I think it's very silly. Like,
oh, really?
He doesn't think it's very serious. Which makes sense, because Ralph Fiennes is like this amazing actor. But, you know, then you get Alan Rickman, who's an amazing actor, and he's taking the role of Snape incredibly seriously.
Yeah.
I think he looks very silly. I did want to share with you, and maybe the listener can check this out too. I was curious about other ways that Voldemort could be depicted.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to direct you to this artist, Rodolfo Curiel. And I'll send it to you in chat. Yeah, so this is Rodolfo Curiel, graphic designer and concept artist, and this is his art station. And it's a much more like animalistic version of Voldemort. He's got his mouth has been like extended up into a permanent sneer. His eyes are completely bloodshot and have the snake, the cat's eye pupils. And he has a little bit more of a nose, but still the sunken nose look. And his skin is like pale and waxy and wrinkled, and he looks much more like a monster to me.
Yeah, he doesn't look human.
Right.
He doesn't have like human features.
He does, but yeah, it's emphasizing the animalistic, the monster features more, which is like that's how I viewed him. Like the reason Voldemort looks this way is because he's given up his humanity. He's torn his soul to pieces. And so this look is just a lot better to me. The thing I don't like about the Ralph Fiennes look of his Voldemort and the way he portrays it is I'm not scared by him. And the primary thing that I got from Voldemort in the books was you are scared of him. When he shows up, it's frightening. But maybe there's not a great way to do that on screen. I also remember, do you remember how Rowling always described Voldemort's voice? She always...
high pitch?
Yeah, high and cruel and cold. And I always like, it sounds scary. And then I would try to imagine in my head, it's like, I've come to kill you, Harry Potter!
Yeah, not sure how scary that would be.
So I think he's pretty silly. But then we get the final duel between him and Harry. He's going to kill Harry. Their beams from their wands meet, and we get... If you hadn't read the book, this must just be completely incomprehensible what happens next. Because what happens is... It kind of comes out of nowhere in the book, too. The two wands, which have the same core, the spells hit, they're connected by a beam, and then through will, you can force the beam to your opponent, and then their spells pop out in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
What?
But in the movie, it's just like, oh, like ghosts are coming out.
The ghosts are coming.
Cedric?
Mom and Dad? That muggle, I don't know who you are?
Right.
And they let Harry get away.
Yeah, once again, Harry uses one of 3 spells that he knows, Expelliarmus.
And then Accio to get the port key.
Sure, yeah, and then they are back, and then the last, 20 minutes of this movie is absolutely nothing.
Yes, because it's resolving the mystery of Barty Crouch, and we really don't care.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to just leave it at that. I do think,
I think so.
The very end, Dumbledore's giving a speech about how Cedric Diggory was a fierce friend and a loyal, good man. It's like, you don't know.
He's
him.
Checking his notes, Cedric Diggory.
He was a tall boy. And he didn't fucking cheat to get in this tournament. I never had to beat him. Okay. So, anything you want to talk about overall? I do want to say, I wanted to give this movie a fair shake, because I have not seen it in 10 years. And I was like, maybe I didn't like it because I was so attached to the books as a kid. And with some distance and not having seen it in so long, maybe it'll be okay. It is not a good movie.
No. Genuinely, no.
Did you know this movie was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Art Direction?
I didn't. That makes a lot of sense.
This film got praised a bunch for its special effects. And I don't know about you, I don't think they hold up.
I don't know. Truly. 2005, I don't know what special effects were supposed to look like in that olden day of 2005.
I guess. It doesn't look as good as Jurassic Park, I'll tell you that.
I guess that's true.
I will say, definitely our big stand-up points. Horny energy. Harry is a dumb piece of shit. Everybody's mean.
Yeah.
There's a lot of physical assault of students in this movie. Just weird. Yeah. Snape is like, they're taking a test or in study hall or something, and Snape is like smacking their heads and shoving their heads into the desk. And again, I think we're supposed to be like, this is hijinks, but it's just weird.
Physical abuse.
One last thing, randomly on YouTube, because I've been watching clips of this, I've been getting recommendations for behind the scenes stuff for this movie. There's a lot of cool material out there, and the thing that makes me so disappointed is that there's lots of interactions with the kids, the cast, all the kids. So the Golden Trio, and Malfoy is fucking hilarious, and Cedric Diggory, and they have such good chemistry. Like, it's fun to see these people interact, and clearly they get along. Like, there's a behind-the-scenes shot. They're in some trailer room, and Daniel Radcliffe is playing some game on the PlayStation on a couch, and Emma Watson's laying down on a bed, and he dies, and she's like, "Oh my god, give me the controller." And he's like, "All right, you do it." And then she starts playing it. It's like, it's really cute. We don't get any scenes like that in the movie.
Turn the camera on.
Harry,
they don't
honestly.
like each other.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I also want to say, we do not support J.K. Rowling in this house.
No.
J.K. Rowling is a piece of shit, transphobic, awful. We do not give J.K. Rowling money. No.
Yes, a good disclaimer, to be
sure.
Get
that out there.
And I also want to say, I think it's fair to be like, yeah, she's awful, but I think Cosmonaut Marcus said it best. He's like, yeah, she's awful and a TERF, and I don't support her. But you know what the problem is? I still kind of like Harry Potter.
I love Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I love Harry Potter so much. I have a giant Harry Potter tattoo, which will be covered up someday. I can tell you that much. But Harry Potter was a huge part of my childhood.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And in the spirit of knocking J.K. Rowling, let's give our final scores here. What do you give this movie? What do you rate this movie?
I rated this movie 2 out of 10 ugly little Voldemort babies. But I did say that I feel like this is probably the perfect movie for like a drinking game. Like, take a drink every time Harry forgets he's a wizard. Take a shot every time Dumbledore acts out of character. Finish your drink when Harry does something unnecessarily heroic. Like, you could really get hammered off this movie.
Wow, that is a brilliant suggestion. We need to make that happen in 10 years when I feel like I can watch this movie again.
Okay.
I gave this movie 1 out of 3 Triwizard Tournament tasks. I think that's about the total amount that I would enjoy watching all of them together. I know I personally don't like this movie very much, and I don't think it's very good, but it's not like you watch it and you can't understand what's going on, and it's not like there aren't characters that you can root for and relate to. It's comprehensible, and there's some fun magic adventure stuff. It definitely loses points for me because I'm not like a person who hadn't read the books and get to be amazed by the spectacle of it all.
Right. Yeah, obviously a lot of people did enjoy this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't us.
No. It's really hard for me to divorce this from when I was a kid, but with over a decade, I feel like my evaluation is as fair as I can get. I feel like I can legitimately say it's not a good movie.
No.
I was very uncomfortable watching it.
I think this movie is dog shit, to be honest.
All right, well, I can't wait to watch it and record our commentary track pretty soon.
Yes.
It's funny, I made that joke about employing a drinking game, but maybe we should do that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I'll write something up.
Yeah, we gotta write some rules down.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for joining us. This has been Watching Movies with April and Kenny. If you want to get in contact, I'm on Twitter at Wolfmere, and you can use the hashtag AprilKennyMovies.
Nice. I am on Instagram at TonkaTruckWeb. You can catch some of my other reviews on my Instagram.
Beautiful. that'll do it for us. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.